Kennywood has updated its safety policies after the shooting incident last week, and Will Idle wrapped up the last round of competition.
Hurricane Ian continues to force evacuations in Florida, and NASA intentionally launched a drone into an oncoming asteroid. All this and more right here on WCTV.
And now, your 5 o'clock news on Channel 14.
Welcome back to Channel 14 News. I'm Brock Owens.
And I'm Rebecca Vaughn. A local farm held an event to celebrate the new fall season. Madeline Verhoff has more.
While Waynesburg is best known as a college town, just northeast in the hills of Waynesburg lies the Lippincott Alpaca Farm. And every year to close the summer season, the farm hosts what they call the Farm Days. The Farm Days has something for everyone, from demonstrations to local vendors, from interactive exhibits to scavenger hunts and hayrides, and from candy to cozy sweaters. I spoke to Eva, who works at Thistleweight Vineyards in Jefferson, and she tells me Thistleweight has been coming to the event for several years.
It's really nice because, the day is like several hours long, so it has such a nice flow of people all day. We have people who come right at the beginning, we have people who come closer to the end and in between, so it's always busy, super kid-friendly too, so parents are always bringing their kids, so it's just a really nice event for sure.
I also spoke to Zach and his wife Katie about their favorite thing the Farm Days offers.
We got the best apple pie last year.
Oh no.
We were looking for it this year, but we didn't see it, so we're a little bit bummed about that.
Will that influence you guys to come back next year?
We will come back looking for the apple pie next year.
Awesome. If you missed the Farm Days this year, don't worry, it'll be back next September. Reporting in Waynesburg, I'm Madeline Verhoff on Channel 14 News.
Local aviators are taking to the skies, but they're leaving their engines behind. Caleb Yager has more.
Today we are in Greene County, and let me tell you, the weather is absolutely gorgeous for some sailing. But we're not going on any boats. Today we're at the Greene County Airport, and we're going to sail in some sailplanes.
A sailplane is essentially an airplane without an engine, but it's constructed different than your airliner or some other small airplane that you may see, in that it has very long wings, and it's a very smooth airplane, which enables it to fly and climb in the sky without an engine.
The Pittsburgh Soaring Association has been flying high in the sky with these sailplanes for nearly 60 years. The 40-plus members of the association fly at the Greene County Airport from April through October.
It's also incredibly challenging at times to stay up in lift and maybe go cross country with a sailplane, and you ask yourself, how do I ever go cross country in an airplane without an engine?
These gliders have to rely on currents of rising air called thermals to stay airborne. But how do they get up in the first place? A rope connects from a motorized aircraft to the sailplane, essentially towing it into the sky. The sailplane then detaches from the winch, and it's the pilot's job to make sure that the plane is catching all the right currents to stay airborne. These intriguing contraptions have also drawn the attention from the community that surrounds the Greene County Airport.
Because we're near the city and near the highway and people see this, we've gained 10 or 15 members just because they observed and drove out and wanted to see more about this.
So, what's the best part about flying in a sailplane?
It's quiet.
If you're interested at all in getting involved, the Pittsburgh Soaring Association is always looking for new members. Reporting for Channel 14 News, I'm Caleb Yager.
Here at Waynesburg University, the show goes on. Students gathered in the GPAC for the next round of Woo Idol. The theme of this round, early 2000s. Contestants performed songs from various genres ranging from country to pop.
Next performance, I hope to choose a song that fits my vocal type and kind of shows off what I can do a little bit better.
The next round will be held on October 1st. The theme? Disney songs.
Students gathered in the Beehive for SAB's Noon Tunes, featuring Soldiers and Son. The two brothers formed the band in 2012 and primarily serve as worship leaders at Waynesburg Bible Chapel. They perform songs ranging from praise and worship to top 40 hits.
We've learned more details about what Kennywood officials are doing in the wake of a shooting at the theme park last weekend. Michael Leaf is outside with more.
Kennywood officials announced on Wednesday changes to the park's security policy after a shooting on Saturday left several people injured. Those improvements include increased police presence in the park, upgraded visibility around the park's perimeter, and a change to the park's chaperone policy. Investigators say they are still unsure how the gun in Saturday's shooting was brought into the park. For WCTV, I'm Michael Leaf.
Police say the shooting occurred after two groups got into a fight. One victim has been released from the hospital while two teams remain hospitalized in stable condition. That's all for campus and local news. When we come back, we'll have news from around the nation.
This is producer Caleb Yager, and you are watching The Buzz.
Welcome back to the newscast, live at 5. Hurricane Ian, a monster Category 4 storm, making landfall on Florida's southwestern coast on Wednesday afternoon. Residents were dealing with mass flooding, power outages, and strong wind gusts, and that's before the storm hit. Gloria Pazmino is in Tampa with the latest on the storm.
Hurricane Ian slamming Florida's Gulf Coast with near Category 5 strength. The monster storm packing winds of 155 miles per hour.
155-mile-an-hour winds are incredibly dangerous. There will be debris in the air and flooding powerful enough to move cars around.
Even before the worst of the storm hit, people in Fort Myers already seeing mass flooding.
The storm surge is very significant. We're actually seeing cars and boats float down the street. We're seeing trees nearly bent in half.
In some areas, the storm surge could reach life-threatening levels of near 18 feet. Already, hundreds of thousands of people are without power. Ahead of the storm, long lines on interstates as residents scramble to evacuate, but some choosing to stay behind and ride it out.
I've got my safe room ready. We have a second bathroom with no windows. I've got a bed in there. I've got the dog food, water. The bathtub is full.
Governor Ron DeSantis expecting to submit a request for a major disaster declaration for all 67 counties, which will allow the federal government to send funds for cleanup.
We are on the alert and in action. We've approved every request Florida has made.
How can we protect the Earth from potentially dangerous asteroids? That's a question NASA tackled Monday night. NASA deliberately crashed an uncrewed spacecraft into an asteroid to see if they can prevent future threats from hitting our planet. Jen Sullivan recaps the launch and explains what scientists are saying about this test.
Protecting Earth from potentially deadly objects in space. It sounds like the perfect plot for a Hollywood film, and it was in 1998.
It's what we call a global killer. Nothing would survive, not even bacteria.
Asteroids, especially large ones, are very real threats and something NASA is tracking.
At some point in the future, there's going to be something that's going to hit Earth. We don't want the Armageddon movie scenario.
10 months ago, NASA launched an uncrewed spacecraft. And Monday night, they purposely crashed it into an asteroid. The mission was called the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART. The purpose? Hit the asteroid head-on to alter its path and change its speed.
We're taking a giant step in planetary defense.
The DART spacecraft was the size of a refrigerator. The asteroid, as big as the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. The spacecraft was going nearly 15,000 miles an hour when the two collided.
If we can confirm that the thing was deflected by less than 1 degree, we know that this would, in principle, work on a large scale.
This asteroid was about 7 million miles away from Earth, but scientists say this test helps them prepare for future threats that could be much closer.
It happens, every few 100,000 or a few million years or so, Earth gets hit by an asteroid, and when it does, it's usually bad for those who are around.
The last time a deadly asteroid hit Earth, around 66 million years ago.
That wiped out the dinosaurs.
Monday's test hopes to prevent that from ever happening again. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
The military killed 12 civilians and injured 5 others in 2021. Those numbers come from a Pentagon report mandated by Congress and released Tuesday. Most of the deaths came from a botched drone strike conducted in Kabul on August 29th of last year. 10 civilians died in that attack, including 7 children. Then Head of Central Command General Frank McKenzie apologized for the mistake, but no leaders or troops were penalized for it. Officials say they are working on arranging payment to surviving family members. The other civilians were killed in 2 additional airstrikes in Afghanistan. The only casualties outside that country were 3 civilians who were injured in an airstrike in Somalia. The numbers of civilian casualties in 2021 is down from 2020, which saw 23 civilians killed.
The Senate voted Tuesday for a stopgap bill that would keep the government funded through December 16th. The tally was 72 to 23. This comes after Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer pulled a controversial energy permit reform proposal. He said Republicans made it clear they would block the short-term funding extension if Senator Joe Manchin's proposal was attached.
Because they've chosen to obstruct instead of work in a bipartisan way to achieve something they've long claimed they wanted to do. Because American families should not be subject to a Republican-manufactured government shutdown, Senator Manchin has requested, and I have agreed, to move forward and pass the recently filed continuing resolution legislation without the Energy Independence and Security Act of 2022. Senator Manchin, myself, and others will continue to have conversations.
Some members of the Democratic caucus also oppose Manchin's proposal. The Senate will next hold a final passage vote. The timing for that is still to be determined.
A public interest lawyer filed a lawsuit over President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan, arguing the policy is an abuse of executive power. It's one of the first significant legal challenges to the plan. Frank Garrison claims because of the forthcoming student loan forgiveness, he'll be forced to pay state taxes on the amount canceled, an expense he would otherwise avoid. The lawsuit is backed by his employer, a nonprofit libertarian law firm. Under Biden's plan, borrowers under a certain income level will see up to $10,000 of federal student loan debt forgiven. If a borrower also got a federal Pell Grant while in college, they're eligible for up to $20,000 of debt forgiveness. Borrowers will not have to pay federal income tax on the student loan debt forgiven, but there are a handful of states that may tax discharged debt if changes are not made.
Philadelphia police say they are looking for at least 2 shooters who opened fire outside of a high school, killing 1 teen and injuring several others. Investigators say 5 high school football players were shot outside of Roxborough High School Tuesday. The teens were walking off the field after a scrimmage game when police say they were ambushed. A 14-year-old boy was shot in his left side, and he died at the hospital. 2 other students were also taken to the hospital. Another 14-year-old boy with a gunshot wound in his left thigh, and a 17-year-old boy who was shot in his right arm and his left leg. Both are in a stable condition. The 5th victim suffered a graze wound and was treated at the scene. No word on a possible motive for the shooting. Police have not released the names of any of the victims. That's all we have for national news. Next up, after the break, is your business and entertainment update. But first, we have a weather update from Caleb Yager.
Hey Waynesburg, this is Caleb Yager from Channel 14 News. I hope you are enjoying this weather as much as I am, but I want you to do just one thing. Sit back and relax, because an extended weather forecast is coming your way in just a few minutes.
You're watching WCTV, where we aim to bring you the best local coverage of what you care about most. Everything from local businesses to hometown sports and the latest weather. We're keeping up to date with what you need to know about issues that affect our campus and our community. We're telling the stories that matter, celebrating our past, our future, and our potential. So tune in for all the latest buzz right here on WCTV Channel 14, Waynesburg.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Madeline Verhoff, and this is your business and entertainment update. Huge multinational companies like Cisco, Microsoft, GE, and JP Morgan are expected to release their earnings in coming weeks. And experts say if we want to know where the U.S. economy is headed, we should pay close attention to corporate earnings to find out. It comes as one major company is warning a global recession could be ahead. More in today's Consumer Watch.
Soaring inflation and interest rates in the U.S., and a war and energy crisis overseas. And now, at least one major multinational corporation is sounding the alarm, warning that a global recession could be ahead.
The recession risks are high everywhere, and in many parts of the world, a lot higher than they are here.
FedEx says the weakening economy could cause it to fall $500 million short of its revenue target. The shipping giant says it's temporarily parking some cargo planes and closing offices after demand for packages crumbled. Earlier this month, FedEx CEO was asked if he thinks we're headed for a global recession.
Well, I'm not an economist, but you know,
you know more than economists. Come on, they don't. They just push papers. You actually look at papers.
Well, I think so.
Meanwhile, many independent contractors who make deliveries for the company are raising concerns, saying rising costs for fuel, labor, and new vehicles have made their businesses unprofitable, with some threatening to halt operations on Black Friday. Experts say because FedEx ships a huge variety of goods across the world, it's a good measure of how the global economy is doing. Economists say FedEx is also struggling with a big shift in consumer preferences as the economy opens up and we're not buying as many online goods compared to earlier in the pandemic.
The shift in what consumers are spending on their money on is really having a big impact on companies like FedEx.
But is the slowdown at FedEx isolated? Experts say we'll find out soon as earnings reports from retailers and manufacturers are released in the coming weeks. That data could give investors a better idea of how the economy is doing amid growing recession fears. For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Meanwhile, a recent Business Roundtable survey of CEOs showed increasing concerns, with business leaders saying they're scaling back hiring plans and capital investment amid high inflation and soaring interest rates, while also citing the war in Ukraine and energy crisis in Europe. A research firm warns worldwide recession is likely on the horizon. According to a probability model run by Ned Davis Research, there is about a 98% chance of global recession. The only other times the recession model was that high was during severe economic downturns. Most recently in 2020 and during the global financial crisis of 2008 and 2009. Most economists seem to agree, according to a report published Wednesday. The World Economic Forum said 7 out of 10 economists consider a global recession at least somewhat likely. The bright side is Ned Davis researchers said although recession risks are rising, its U.S. recession probability model is still at rock bottom levels. The U.S. job market remains strong, consumers continue to spend, and corporate profits are sturdy. There are also hopes U.S. inflation will cool off in the coming months as supply catches up with demand. Movie and music news now. Here's David Daniel with today's Hollywood Minute.
Completely empty up here and terrifying. But we did have one idea. Hey, Hugh, you want to play Wolverine one more time?
Yeah, sure, Ryan.
Ryan Reynolds broke Twitter with his latest bombshell. It appears he'll be joined by Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in Deadpool 3, even though Jackman has said repeatedly he would not return as Wolverine, who died in 2017's Logan. We'll see what happens when Deadpool 3 debuts September 6, 2024.
Climb the rainbow!
There's never been a singer quite like Ronnie James Dio. His widow, Wendy, says she wanted to make sure the documentary, Dio, Dreamers Never Die, gave even hardcore fans of the legendary heavy metal vocalist something new.
A lot of people didn't know Ronnie was doo-wop singer and was singing before the Beatles. You know, in the 50s, he was in a band. He played the trumpet when he was like 15 with Bobby Darin, with Gene Pitney, all these things that, you know, fans don't know about Ronnie. And we wanted it to be a story of Ronnie's life.
The film plays in select theaters this Wednesday and Sunday. Check DioDreamersNeverDie.com for theaters and showtimes. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Jeffrey Dahmer died almost 3 decades ago, but the horrors he committed continued to haunt those who witnessed it. Cola Stiles, then 17, is one of them. She called 911 after seeing a teenage boy apparently trying to escape Dahmer's apartment. Dahmer later then killed the 14-year-old. The death still haunts Stiles for years. Now, a Netflix series released is serial killers. Newly released on Netflix series on the serial killer, stirring emotions once again.
I was wondering if I could get hypnotized to block that part of my life out. Like, I really did not want to think about it. I just was like trying to figure it out, and it came to, you know, maybe you should write. You know, good people telling me like, you know, therapy is writing too. You can write it, and I do feel like that kind of did something.
Stiles has gone by a different name since the early 90s to distance herself from the Dahmer case. She says it took almost 20 years to forgive herself for not being able to save the boy. That's all for your business and entertainment update. When we come back, you'll have all the latest on Waynesburg sports right here on WCTV.
Have you ever been to the Everly Library? If not, you should, because it's great. They have books of all different genres: history, biography, fiction. Try The Evolution of Life, Life of Pi, or Jurassic Park. So what if books aren't your thing? Try movies like Frozen, or TV shows like Lost. Books and DVDs aren't the only thing though. Take a trip to the second floor. Welcome to the Writing Center. These tutors will tell you everything you need to know about writing a paper, and they'll help revise your essays. Now let's head back down. Behold, the Knox Learning Center. Need to print something out 5 minutes before your next class because you procrastinated? No problem. You can also print off pictures of dogs. Because, well, you can. So grab your homework, laptop, and textbook, and study diligently. Bring your lunch too. Actually, you can't. That's illegal. Now you know the Everly Library. Stop by anytime. Seriously, it's open all week.
Hello, I'm Logan Lepiscopo, and this is your Waynesburg Sports Update here on Channel 14. After last Saturday's game, the Waynesburg University football team fell to the Allegheny College Gators 31-15. This was the team's second conference game of the season, and now with a 2-2 season record and a 1-1 conference record, Waynesburg sits at 7th in the President's Athletic Conference. The scoring from this contest came all in the second and third quarter of the game. Both of Waynesburg's touchdowns coming from senior running back Justin Flack. Flack, on top of his 2 touchdowns, finished with 86 rushing yards and 72 receiving yards. Waynesburg's football team will have a bye this upcoming Saturday. On a more upbeat note from the loss, Waynesburg University's quarterback Tyler Raines has been named as a semifinalist for the William V. Campbell Trophy. This award recognizes an individual as the absolute best football scholar athlete in the nation. 156 students from all NCAA divisions and NAIA schools were honored as semifinalists for the award this season. Since last Thursday, the Waynesburg University women's soccer team faced off against 2 PAC opponents, the Chatham Cougars and the St. Vincent Bearcats. Against Chatham, the ladies pulled off a 3-3 tie after a goal scored by Chloe Zook in the 82nd minute of the match. 2 days ago against St. Vincent, the ladies left Latrobe with another tie with a final score of 0-0. Waynesburg was outshot in both matches, 33-7 and 21-6. The men's soccer team had a very similar outcome to the women's team. One game against Chatham University and one game against St. Vincent College. Both games ending in a tie, and both of those matches were a 1-1 draw. Against Chatham, the Cougars were able to score in the 6th minute of the match, and it took Waynesburg till the 64th minute to respond. Against St. Vincent, the Bearcats scored in the 40th minute of the match, and Waynesburg put one in the back of the net in the 73rd minute to tie it all up. Last Friday, the Waynesburg University esports team played Roanoke College in Rocket League once again after a prior meeting defeating the school 3-0. This past Friday, Waynesburg took down Roanoke once again, this time by a score of 3-1. Yesterday afternoon, the Rocket League team played Marywood University and swept the Pacers 3-0 for its 4th sweep of the season. The Esports League of Legends team faced off last night against Arcadia University and lost a best-of-3 match 2-0. Last Thursday, Waynesburg University's volleyball team took on the St. Vincent Bearcats on the road and fell 3-0. 2 days later, on September 4th, Waynesburg hosted the Bethany Bison and unfortunately lost again 3-1. Just 2 days ago, the volleyball team traveled to Steubenville, Ohio to take on the Franciscan Barons. The Barons defended its home court, sweeping Waynesburg 3-0. The ladies resume action tonight, September 29th, at the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse with rival Washington and Jefferson coming into town. Action is set to begin at 7, and Waynesburg University Sports Network will have the coverage, announcers Caleb Yager and Austin Bechtold. The men's tennis team will have its first day of tennis this season on Saturday, October 1st, over at Washington and Jefferson, set to begin at 9 a.m. Action will be against both host school, Washington and Jefferson, as well as St. Vincent College. The women's tennis team traveled to Grove City last Thursday, but after arriving to the school the day of the match, it ended up being postponed, as well as the following 2 matches at Westminster and Franciscan, both postponed. Action for the women's tennis team will start back up tomorrow at Washington Jefferson College at 4 p.m. The Waynesburg University women's golf team and men's team is currently in Latrobe, Pennsylvania for the St. Vincent College Invitational, which began at 11 o'clock this morning. The teams will also both travel to Carlow University on Saturday for another match. That's the latest for Waynesburg Sports. Stay tuned for weather forecasts with Caleb Yager. That's coming up next here on Channel 14 News.
It's time for your weather forecast here on Channel 14 News. I'm Caleb Yager. Well, fall is officially here, folks. It's about that time of year to pour the apple cider and break out the sweaters because it's currently 60 degrees here in Waynesburg. Don't expect the temperature to go above 70 degrees anytime soon. 66 is the high for tomorrow with a low of 50 and mostly cloudy skies. Expect some rain on Saturday and some even cooler temperatures. I'm talking a high of just 59 degrees and a low of 50 degrees. The temperatures will get slightly warmer on Sunday, but there's still a good chance of showers. 62 and 47 are the high and low temperatures, and Monday is looking mostly cloudy with a high of 60 and a low of 43. Tuesday has some morning showers as well. The high temperature will be around 62 degrees, and the low will be 41 degrees. And finally, the skies will be mostly sunny on Wednesday. The high and low temperatures will have a difference of about 20 degrees at 65 and 45. Once again, this has been your extended weather forecast for Channel 14 News.
Extremely excited that it's October. I am so ready to eat so much candy corn that I make myself sick. I love candy corn.
I also like candy corn. It's great. October is going to be a solid month, I think. I think it's going to be good.
First of all, candy corn might be the worst choice for Halloween candy, at least in my personal opinion, but I'm excited for all the costumes and for all the festives to start.
Yeah, what about you?
Oh no, I definitely agree. I like candy corn, so I'm on that ride with you. But if it's already this cold, how do you think winter is going to be?
Oh, I can imagine it'll be rough.
All right, well, that's all the time we have. 3 against 1 on the candy corn. Thanks for tuning in to Channel 14 News. Tune in again next week, live at 5.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.